Can you hear me?
Welcome, Mr. Davis Freeman, to another broadcast of the Archive of Untold Stories.
How long has it been?
Well, it's been 2 months.
2 months, and here we are now in the Age of Aquarius. Did you have your vaccine shot yet?
I had the first one. I'm getting a second one in July.
You're way far behind.
Yeah.
I already had my double.
Yeah, you're double. Wow.
So
You know what we're listening to?
not yet. Now I do. One of my 3 favorite musicals of all time.
I thought you would like this. Our love for musicals comes back again. I'm gonna lower it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because we all know the song, of course. And we know the time when it was made.
60s.
Is it? The
Beautiful
60s.
67?
67. The musical Hair is from 67. Let's show the people the Hair musical from 1967. This is the Reader's Digest edition of My Mom.
This is the original London cast.
Yeah.
Very nice. So what is this? Why we decided to bring
Well,
in
it's the first thing, the first time it's all going to be about the Age of Aquarius today. And actually, as a kid, we had this record at home, and so my mom was a little bit of a neo-hippie, being that she maybe wanted to love or embrace the hippie culture, but she never did. But she had the records though, along with a King Crimson one and crazy stuff like that.
Right.
And the other things were classical music, the Four Seasons and stuff like that.
So
but
maybe she had this for when you're like, her friends would come over and they would secretly smoke pot.
No, I didn't have that kind of parents. I know your parents did, but
My mom smoked a lot of grass.
Your mom smoked a lot of grass. So yeah, it was a great hit in the 70s with a band called the Fifth Dimensions, pushing it to all the billboards.
You mean the Age of Aquarius?
The Age of Aquarius is a song then, because they actually they just did a cover version of the musical version.
So let's backtrack.
Let's backtrack.
What is the project again? To reminding people that maybe don't know, what is this project of Sam Vanoverschelde?
Thank you for coming to the Archive of Untold Stories.
The Archive of Untold Stories.
And this one is really brand new.
Okay.
Because, I usually have the boxes, people can come and visit, but now I offer you a box, and it's going to be this one, The Age of Aquarius.
Okay.
About esotericism.
Is this woman going to stare at me the whole time?
Well, she can stay. Sorry.
I mean, she does, but she's starting to freak me out.
Hair, the hippie culture, the whole idea of some first ideas of commons, actually, and the story of Hair is actually about a guy drafted for the army who needs to go to Vietnam, but then he encounters some hippies and he gets totally overwhelmed by their niceness and their culture, and so he takes on a different direction. But then we have to zap immediately to 1992. I just finished middle school. I was in my first year in Ghent, doing photography school. And one day we were walking around in the city looking for, I'm just gonna change the setting a little bit. We were looking for nice spots to go and look for pictures to take. So actually there was this squat. It was totally well, it was just a ruin of a building, really, just around the corner of the school. And then I took all these pictures there. And that location, actually, that's where I found that thing.
That poster.
That poster.
In 1992.
In 1992. And what is it, you think?
Well, it looks like some kind of mystical, spiritual calling of the future. Maybe it's a tarot card also, maybe? Or, because I don't know what that symbol over the double HO means. But it's still about bracing death and life, and because they're feeding the water to feed the plants, but then you're going to the skulls that has death, and then you have the moon, the sun moon.
It's all the symbolisms of the zodiac signs. It's actually, I discovered it later on that it was a drawing by Jofra. Mm-hmm. This is Jofra. Oh, we had a blackout. We had a blackout, but that's okay. We're just gonna go to the. This is the artist Jofra.
Oh, Grandpa. He looks like everybody's grandfather, doesn't he?
He's a Dutch painter, and he made this series of drawings. So this is one I found, and then I've got all these. We could do the whole zodiac, of course.
Now, how much acid was he taking when he was making these?
I guess a lot. I really guess a lot.
This seems like very mushroomy work.
Yeah, it is one of the classics of these kind of paintings and stuff.
Of a specific time.
Of a specific time. It's the 60s. Everything goes.
Is this mine?
This is Virgo.
That's the Virgin.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So, this billboard, is it a billboard? Can you call it a
poster?
A poster. This poster has been adorning my student room for all these years. It just went along with me, and now it's not a part of my interior design
anymore,
of course. But yeah.
So that is which month? What zodiac does that represent?
That's Aquarius.
That's Aquarius. Okay,
of course, that's Aquarius. That's why we're here.
So we have Aquarius there. We have the artist.
Yeah.
We have the music from the hair, the world of Aquarius.
Yeah.
And you must have. Where are we going to go now?
Where are we going to go now? Well, actually, realizing that Ghent was. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm blocking all the. Realizing that this man.
This guy.
Mm-hmm. This is a sketchbook. I bought it again. This is a sketchbook that I already seen when I was 13, 14 years old. Mm-hmm. A friend of mine, Thomas Antierens. Mm-hmm. I was with him in from first to sixth grade. We were together in boarding school. We were actually quite good friends. And this is one of the books that he took along from his parents' house. And it's actually the whole sketchbook of
all of his
kind of things. And it was like, as a 13, 14-year-old, it was kind of a revelation, because there's fantasy in there, there's nude women in there. 13, 14-year-old guys, you give them a tit, especially in a boarding school.
You say, check this out in the bathroom. You want to see a picture? I charge you €5. Or back then, 5 francs.
But then this is the crazy work of Jofra.
They all look like possible tattoos, no?
Yeah, probably.
I'm sure many of them are.
But Jofra brings me to this book, and this book brings me back to Thomas. And actually, I want to tell you something about Thomas.
Your best friend from school
He was one of my good friends in school.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a great time together. I knew we were.
Did you watch the naked women photos together?
Yeah.
Late at night when you were in
it has to be said, like he was a special kind of guy. Thomas was he was like an old soul.
Mm-hmm.
I had the impression when I met him that they dropped a 20-year-old in a middle school, and actually I got some pictures from that time, and I was, if you look at him, it's kind of funny. First year, I mean, you're gonna go to this one here again. Just leave it here. This is my. Is it visible?
So this is your history.
This is my history.
Oh my God, where are you?
Yeah. Anyway, Thomas is right. I'm looking at it backwards again, of course. So where do I have to find it? This is Thomas.
Okay.
This is Thomas. Then this is Thomas.
Uh-huh.
And from second year on, he already had to start shaving. And by third, fourth grade, he actually had a full-on beard.
Uh-huh.
He's, where is he again? He was always wearing that. This is third grade. I'm having trouble looking at it now.
Upside down.
Yeah, upside down, and my glasses, I really need to get new glasses. Thomas, where are you?
Let's say that's him there.
Oh yeah, that's him.
Okay.
That's him. That's Thomas.
I have a feeling that something bad is going to happen to Thomas.
Well, yeah, I mean, much later, I discovered that Thomas committed suicide.
Mm.
And then the annoying thing now is that I don't even remember when or who told me the story, because it's like it was a bit blurry. And
But Thomas is connected to this book. That's why.
Thomas is connected to this book. Thomas is the guy who introduced me to Joffre.
Yeah.
And that's how this got connected.
Mm.
So we were really good friends. We always hang out together in his room, because he was because of the old soul that he had kind of like a little bit of privileges at school as well. Everybody in school, teachers and like the people, the educators at the boarding school, they understood that he needed some time off sometimes from the kids he was living with. He's kind of like, he was intelligent, hyper intelligent even.
Yeah.
I thought he didn't have to study anything just to get good grades.
Yeah.
And still he did. So he always got maximum grades. It's kind of like, normally you get nerds like that who just study and you don't relate to them or something, because you just simply can't keep up with their intelligence.
Right.
But with Thomas it was different. He was an angry young man. He was very angry at his parents, at his dad mainly, because they were going through a divorce, a really painful one, and he really his father was the cause of everything bad going on in his life.
Mm.
And by the age of 16 they got divorced, and then he just only got angry anymore at his dad. And in the 6th, his 2 brothers came to the school as well.
All right.
2 twins, Matthias and Emmanuel. And because everything was a little bit blurry of my remembering of him, I got in touch with him this week. And he actually told me what happened, because we kind of like lost track of each other after boarding school. So and I've got a small fragment of that conversation we had. We talked for an hour and a half. It was really nice. But so Emmanuel Antirens got in touch with me, and he explained what happened to Thomas. And we're gonna check it out now. We can start numbers.
Nee, ik vind het altijd bizar hoe dat regelmatig in mijn leven, ik word soms zo van uit het niets geconfronteerd met mensen die achter Thomas vragen. Ik vind dat eigenlijk wel een mooi gegeven dat dat nog altijd gebeurt.
Ja.
20 jaar na datum.
Ja, en dan eigenlijk
behalve die anekdotes heb ik eigenlijk nog weinig echt veel concrete herinneringen. Maar eigenlijk, ik denk dat voor ons allebei toen op dat moment zoiets was zo van, eindelijk tijd voor iets anders. Dus we zochten elkaar ook niet op. En ik ben het eigenlijk pas het jaar daarna, toen ik dan niet meer in Gent zat, je gaat toch nog proberen zo van, wacht, als ik dan toch moet schrijven en scenario schrijven en dit en dat, met Thomas samen, zou dat gewoon wat veel sterker zijn. Maar dat is zo snel afgewimpeld geraakt toen. Of het is verwaterd, ik weet het niet meer. Ik heb er geen juiste herinneringen meer van.
Ja, maar toen, zeker in het tweede jaar dat hij in Gent zat, is het eigenlijk volledig misgelopen. Hè.
Ja.
Ik heb dat natuurlijk ervaren op het moment dat ik zelf in mijn eerste jaar zat, woonde hij in Gent. En dan ging ik bijna elke avond bij hem gaan. Wij dwaalden gedurende de nachten met zijn pijp. En hij heeft me dan leren sigaren roken. En als iedereen ging gaan slapen, dan gingen wij door Gent gaan dwalen. Maar wij deden lange wandeling en dan was hij altijd van alles aan het vertellen en ding. En dan had je, wat dat hij eigenlijk had, was een soort dwangen in bepaalde richtingen. En als dan later hebben ze daar de stempel schizofrenie op gestempeld. Maar wat is dat juist? Dat is niet dat je verschillende persoonlijkheden hebt. Hè.
Nee.
Maar hij kon zo heel erg de sloor zijn, op zijn plaats te zetten. Dat hij moest huishouden doen, dat hij alle soorten karwei moest doen. Maar dan de andere momenten had hij zo van die, ja, ik noem dat als een geniale fase, dat hij dan tekeningen maakte en beelden en gelijk wat, of muziek maakte. Maar dat hij ook helemaal weg was. Dus dan was het dat en niks anders. Dan had hij ook andere momenten dat hij bepaalde dwangmatige handelingen moest doen. En dat waren eigenlijk de gevaarlijke. Treinen tegenhouden. In tunnels het verkeer gaan regelen. En dat was toen al de eerste indicatie dat er een zelfdestructief gedrag in zat. Maar dwangmatig.
Ja.
Wat dat er uiteindelijk geleid heeft dat hij hem zich heeft laten opnemen. Maar moet dan natuurlijk op een gegeven moment ook aanvaarden dat er een probleem is. Hij heeft dan eigenlijk nog 3, 4 hele goede jaren gehad, net voor zijn overlijden. En hij had mij altijd gezegd, dus hij had altijd een koord in zijn, ook toen al in Gent, in zijn studiejaren, had hij altijd een koord bij. Hij had altijd gezegd, als het niet meer gaat, ga ik mij ophangen aan die touw.
Ja.
En hij heeft dat ook gedaan. Dus voor mij is dat iets van een proces die geweest is. En dan vermoed je waarschijnlijk dat hij op een gegeven moment, als die hele periode goed was, dat hij aan het hervallen was. En je weet natuurlijk ook, op het moment dat je hervalt, dat wordt altijd slechter, zo'n ding.
Ja.
En in de DSM-schaal, of hoe noemt dat daar, voor de psychische ziekten, 99,9% van de mensen die zijn type schizofrenie hebben, plegen ook zelfmoord voor een 30ste.
Mooi.
Dus, maar hij was, als je dat dan terugkijkt in de tijd, en dat ga je waarschijnlijk beter weten dan ik, als je op het internet samen zat met hem, bijvoorbeeld zijn tekeningen, dat was altijd ongelooflijk gedetailleerd en soms erover. Want we hebben heel veel werken van hem nog liggen dat hij gemaakt heeft. Dat je dan denkt van een kind van 12, 13 jaar, die een keer naar de Halletoren in Brugge komt, thuis komt, en dat dan maar echt tot op het beeld, elk beeldje daarin staat na correct getekend, maar gewoon pro memorie.
Oh, shit.
Dat is absurd, hè? Ja.
Ja.
Ook zijn muziek. Je hebt waarschijnlijk zijn mondharmonica van dicht meegemaakt en veel mogen aanhoren.
Ja.
Maar die speelde dus ook dwarsfluit, viool, piano, zonder dat hij dat allemaal geleerd had.
Godverdomme toch.
En hij had dan, misschien was dat bij jullie ook al zo, maar ik ben dan tijdens mijn studententijd nogal zwaar ondergedompeld in zware jazz. Maar ook dat, die kon dat dan gewoon naspelen. Dat je dan denkt van, dan moet je toch al een bepaalde virtuositeit hebben om dat te kunnen.
Ja. Dat zit helemaal... Ja, kijk, dat was helemaal weg, die muziek. Ik weet dat het een muziekfreak was, maar ik kan me niet meer herinneren wat dat hij...
Met de mondharmonica speelde hij eigenlijk ook altijd op het internaat. In de hangen, toen hij naar beneden aan het komen was.
Jawel. Ah, kijk, dat was weg, die mondharmonica.
Ja, of dus 1997, of ja, iets later, 98 en 2001, tot het jaar voordat, tot een paar weken voordat hij gestorven was, was het eigenlijk heel vlak, hè, want hij had de juiste medicatie, de juiste behandeling, hij was in die dagtherapie, hij had stabiliteit en structuur in zijn leven. Dat is ook de laatste jaren hebben wij ook terug samengewoond. Hè.
Mhm.
Maar wat dat hij, zijn grote frustratie was op dat moment dan, dat hij dat zijn gevoelens, zijn emotie en zijn creativiteit volledig weg waren. Maar voor Thomas was dat, allee, hij was natuurlijk intelligent genoeg om te weten wat er gebeurde. En die afvlakking, dat vond hij niets eigenlijk. Hè. Ja, ik bedoel,
Nee,
maar je kunt
nee.
natuurlijk niet
Dat
alleen
ook,
de
ja.
highs hebben en de lows er niet bij pakken, dat gaat niet. Hè.
Nee.
En de vervelende gewoonte dat hij heeft om heel regelmatig in mijn leven terug te komen, terwijl hij al dood is. Hè. Maar ik vind dat wel tof eigenlijk. Allee, ja.
Ah ja, ja, dat is fantastisch. Inderdaad.
Wow. I mean, it's nice to see the brother talk with so much love about him, even though it's sad that he's gone, but that he was so proud of him. And
Yeah, I mean, it's with this hour-long conversation. It was like at first I was like getting in touch with him. It's like I have a very delicate question because you never know how people lived that experience. So I was very hesitant. That's why it was also very late because I just keep on doubting to get in touch with those people. So.
Yeah.
But he found it really cool because he said like it's at several points in my life, people just come back and ask me about Thomas, and so that's the way he keeps entering his life up until now.
so this project is kind of like bringing back stories from your life, or like things that you would never bring out publicly again, or
I mean,
you don't think about this guy that passed. I mean, I know a few people that have passed already in Belgium, and you just reflect on them. When I see this story, it makes me think about Peter that I lost, or other friends, and yeah, it's interesting. It's good to acknowledge the history that we've had. But why do you think that you don't remember anything from that time?
and the funny
Did you
thing
block
was
block
that
it out? Is there something psychological?
oh no, there was there's actually no. I guess it's simply because there was a little bit of a schisma between middle school and high school, and then the rest of my life.
So
It was a boarding school, and I never really got in touch with any other kids from that school afterwards anymore, except for Thomas. That first year in Ghent, we met a few times, but that's what I said as well. I mean, we had spent 6 years together. It was time for something else, so we didn't go look for each other anymore.
It just reminded me, that's one last thing, is that hearing his brother talk about him, it reminds me of Daniel Johnston and that movie The Devil and Daniel Johnston, and like how like the Sonic Youth band was trying to deal with him, and they knew that they had a genius here, but they didn't know how to help him, and they had to help commit him. And when you see somebody that's a genius, but then there's nothing that you can do, and
yeah, I mean, Thomas was a kind of a genius that was so hyper intelligent that it was a
burden, or
and also he was how do you call it? Like Daniel Johnson is an idiot savant, but he was a savant. He didn't do crazy things in the time that I knew him. It only came later, and there were some funny stories as well because we always. We had the sneaky suspicion that he had relationships with teachers even in 3rd or 4th grade, because he was so old, he looked so old as well. It was like, and there was times that he spent on noons and after school,
fantasizing.
And it was like, what happened? But then afterwards, of course, you realize it's just he needed to get in touch with the reality on so many different levels, probably, and having a really blonde, nice-looking teacher in her early 30s. I think it was something, and of course, it
We'll
was
ne-
boys
we'll-
only It was boys only boarding school, so it was a.
And we'll never know. And you guys
We'll never know.
And you guys were looking at these photos.
But then this is the childish stuff. This is the childish stuff.
You guys just spent the whole night with this book.
Yeah. Or it went from dorm room to dorm room.
Of course, like
No, actually, there were other books that went around, and this guy.
So you're not going to leave us there. You're not going to leave us on this depressing story of Thomas. Where are we going next?
Where are we going next?
So
we zap again.
We're zapping.
We're zapping again. 2009.
Right.
2009, I get commissioned by Lieven Bertels, great friend. He was a teacher at the Ritz, the school that I was in, and he took us along. He took Visual Kitchen, you know, I don't have to explain Visual Kitchen. He took us along on many different adventures. And one of those adventures was the Opera Aquarius.
There's an opera called Aquarius?
There's an opera called Aquarius by the Belgian composer Karel Huijvaerts. Got some of the, and we worked with Flemish opera, Dutch opera choir, a whole lot of high players in the opera field, and we did stuff like this.
You did stuff like this, or they did stuff like this?
They did stuff like this. I mean, I didn't do the scenography, but we were part of the scenography by doing the video.
Oh yeah, okay.
And this is actually an appalling photo because this was taken the day before. This was on the general repetition, general rehearsal, and there's actually there was a bug in the system, and this should have been on the edges, and so it was a
Small
little
details we're not going to
small
notice.
details. But no, actually, it's not about the small details in this one because this was a director, and I don't know if you can see it. This was a director.
But when you're directing something Aquarius, are you talking about the age of Aquarius, the age of change, the age of revelation, the age of a spiritual consciousness shift that we then suddenly realize that we're all one and connected? I mean, that's the...
It is through this opera that I got to know this whole story about the age of Aquarius and the shifting of paradigms and the whole idea of we need to shift from... we've been... That's and it was also the inspiration for Karel Huijvaerts, the composer. We need to shift our world from a pyramidical structure of power, and what the Age of Aquarius announces or makes happen is that there's no more centralized power anymore, and there's a higher understanding within individuals, and they start networking and organizing themselves in a much smarter way. It was all based on this one book.
And that's what his version of Aquarius was inspired by.
His version was inspired by this book, the Aquarius Conspiracy.
Conspiracy?
Yeah. This actually, this Marilyn Ferguson was a scientist that published this book in 1980, and it was a kind of like a synthesis of everything that happened since the hippies from the Age of Aquarius, the hair time, and all the shifting paradigms she saw happening, people getting in touch with all kinds of Eastern philosophies, combining this with the knowledge we had, science and sociology.
Right.
And so she actually described that whole time and era, and came up with sociological theory about how we should do this paradigm shift.
And when did she print this? Did it have any?
This is 1980.
This is 1980. Is it still a well-known book that then people draw to? Or?
The funny thing is, like if you go online and go look for this, I mean, there's most of the things that I found about this book is right-wing and Catholic, and actually the opposition of her
That
ideas.
they've adopted it.
And
themselves.
they constantly commented, and it's like she makes a mistake there and she makes a mistake there, but that's only in their belief, of course. But this inspired Karel Guivarts to create this opera in 1992.
I thought it was in 2009.
But we did it again in 2009.
Ah, they remounted the opera.
The story of Aquarius and the drama of Aquarius and Karel Guivarts is he had been working on this for ages. He had been writing bits and pieces over the years, over the past 10, 15 years, and it was to be his magnum opus.
Oh yeah.
It was to be something that gathered everything he created and developed as a composer, and it had to be one complete totaal spectacle. I don't know how you know
that's
it.
great.
And it was supposed to be staged on the first cultural embassy. You know, the cultural years in 2000 it was in Brussels.
Mm-hmm.
In 1993 it was in Antwerp. Antwerp 1993 is a huge boost for cultural life in the Antwerp area and in Belgium as a whole. And Karel Guivarts was commissioned to make a ballet opera.
Ballet opera.
Ballet opera.
Are they just dancing ballet in the chairs or the movement?
Actually, the thing is, the difference between this staging and what he intended to do is like if Karel Guivarts would have seen this, I don't know what he would have thought about it.
Right.
He wanted moving choirs. So actually, the people that are on these seats, I'm just gonna put it here. The people that are on these seats, that's the choir.
Yeah.
That's the choir. So normally a choir in an opera, they're in the back somewhere and they don't have to do anything. They don't move, or maybe they do a little bit of moving and stuff like that. But this time
they were involved.
They were involved. They were the choreography. They had to move their own chairs. They had to do a lot of stuff and sing at the same time. So it was quite a challenge for them. And even the musicians and everything had to be on stage, and it had to be raw, but it also had to be poetic, of course. It was the story about Karel Guivarts then in the end is a little bit of a drama as well, because he was in his 60s. He was preparing all this. He was working hard. They had it all planned. The production was going to go through, but all of a sudden, production came back to him and said, "I'm sorry, you have to cut the budget."
Cut the budget. Oh.
A classical one. And he, so...
This is in 92?
92.
Yeah.
92, 93. And then he actually probably got so upset about that. And he died of a heart attack in a sauna in Antwerp.
Culture drove him to have a heart attack.
Culture drove him to have a heart attack. So we staged the sauna.
Yeah.
And we staged a lot of things about that. Actually, the things that happened to him as well, that was integrated into the whole thing.
Show.
And there was an actor that told the whole story, and that's why I think it's like we really adapted the.
Was the show like uplifting? Was it like positive?
It's really it's positive
because it's contemporary.
It's very contemporary. It's a contemporary composer in the tradition of Reich and stuff like that. Serial compositions.
It's not hair.
It's not. It's definitely not hair. But it's a beautiful thing.
I mean, to see hair more. But
it's not the abstract music, but it's really it goes from soothing to. It's really like it's not the annoying kind of contemporary composition.
But it looks like a great spectacle. And
so
this is your connection again.
This is
Aquarius.
the connection again with Aquarius.
That you then revolved that.
And I got to know this story about how we need to change our system.
You don't think our system is working?
No. Well, I mean, there's a lot of changes going on, and we're going from crisis to crisis, and you should think like, hey, let's use it to adapt things. make things better, but it doesn't always seem to happen.
No.
But within going through, going into this all this knowledge about the Aquarian conspiracy and Marilyn Ferguson, I found a quite an interesting video from 1985, where she's explaining her theories, and it's about the time that the Live Aid happens. And she talks a lot about, actually she thought that these things would always be the solution to war. That was her main goal. War is the problem for everything. And but I mean, I made a small edit of it, and she put some statements out there that might be interesting. And so let's check that and talk later.
My position in the Aquarian conspiracy was, I would think, cautious optimism. That is, I said, it looked as if we were moving into a new time, and that there had been many prophecies and statements anticipating it, and there were a lot of signs that it was happening. But there could always be disruptions, because you can't anticipate all the twists and turns of history and the forces of history. And that in order for there to be a really significant change in modern societies, in modern civilizations, we need to take into account whether or not we are going to blow ourselves up or destroy ourselves ecologically before these shifts can occur. In other words, there's a movement, there is a momentum which is stronger than ever. You know, as we sit here talking now, I would say that there's far more evidence of a change of thinking now than there was when the Aquarian Conspiracy was published in 1980. And it's much more mainstream. But we are still in the position that was described by H.G. Wells in the 1920s, I think it was, when he said, it's a race between education and catastrophe. Within myself, I have a whole group with different points of view. I think that we're just beginning to appreciate from the research on multiple personality syndrome that this internal complexity and multiplicity is not as unusual as we had thought. Most of us don't have truly so-called split personalities, but we do have one part that wants to be tough and one part that wants to be soft and one part that is more organized and one that is like the nagging parent and all of this. And so there is a milieu of conflict, even if it's mild, within us as individuals. If we can recognize that and begin to make peace among those conflicting selves, that makes it easier to deal with the people in the workplace, with the people in our family, and then we have more of an understanding of the accusations and the counter-accusations that go on in the political realm, among advertisers, and in the international arena. What I have found is that when the international news gets hectic and there's a lot of tension over possible violent conflict, that the people who really understand themselves, the people who really are aware of themselves and working on themselves and working to get along with others, have a different point of view than people who don't think about those issues. People who don't think about those issues tend to say, well, you know, let's bomb the heck out of him. The same thing that our educational system is now coming to grips with. We have never taught thinking. We have never taught critical thinking skills. Now all of a sudden there's a concern. Let's buy the books, let's get the softwares, let's find the teachers, let's teach people how to think. So that's one part of it. The other key, I think, right now that could, that is a model for turning things is creative cooperation. So if we can look at what kinds of things we can engage in together as the people have engaged in trying to end hunger that feel really important, we'll begin to get the hang of positive creative interaction. And then the conflicts that we deal with will be disagreements over style and strategy and so on, and the kinds of things that that people can deal with comfortably. There will always be differences. The question is, can we handle those differences differently? If you look around you and you see what's wrong, and you have to learn to be able to see what's wrong without getting really upset about it, because it's always been wrong. It's just that the more attention you pay, the more you see it. But you see what it is that's needed. And as you see what's needed, you look at that thing that's needed that you think you might be able to do something about. Then you have a purpose. You're like the boy who saw the hole in the dike. Okay, you can now have something to focus on, and particularly if it's something that you don't think the society is paying enough attention to, this gives you even more incentive. So you do have a reason to get up in the morning. The next thing that you do, or I guess you would say almost simultaneous with that, is you connect with other people who either have a purpose or are seeking a purpose, who at least have a sense that they want to make some kind of contribution. The purpose will mobilize your energy and your creativity and your ideas, and it will also tend to make you less fearful. I believe that what you do is, and this is what I want to focus on in the visionary factor, we have to change the common sense. Okay, the common sense attitude for a long time has been, we will always have war. Well, if that's the common sense, or we will always have poverty, or we will always have crime, or whatever, or one person can't do anything, or you can't fight City Hall. So we have to change the common sense to you can fight City Hall, because in fact you can. But people need to know. They need to know what their options are. And this is where, and when I say education, we can't wait for the schools to educate in this way. There have to be other ways of doing it, through groups, through television, through anything else that we can use. But we must educate each other to our options, because I believe the answer lies in having more information. If people can begin to see that everything is connected to everything, which is what a curriculum can do, then they have a large enough picture that they're not victims of rhetoric.
How many personalities do you have?
Quite a few, I think.
I think we all have different personalities in order to meld ourselves to different situations.
Yeah.
But it is good to have something that makes you be able to wake up and get out of bed in the morning to find more knowledge, to be connected. What I don't understand what's going on right now when we talk about the shift of the mind, of the Aquarius opening and changing of the world, why does nobody care that we've discovered aliens? Why is it that in the news now they're showing us on our feed, and they're showing they're releasing all these videos of these spacecraft that the military has discovered, and they're going into the water and out of the waters? That means that they have some kind of jet propulsion that is like with quantum physics, I mean, it's beyond our even capacity, and nobody cares.
Is it? This is the first time I hear about that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God! I guess it's a big American thing, because they just released all these in the last 2 weeks. All these huge videos of airline force pilots filming unidentified flying
objects.
They don't call them UFOs anymore. They call them UN or unidentified flying or something. But nobody can account for this technology. And then there's another movie that just came out called The Phenomenon, where this guy, Italian scientist, has fragments of parts of the ships that have crashed, and it's elements that. So there's proof, and there's visual proof, and there's full-time accounting, and then nobody cares.
But it's kind of like the system that she says, like people aren't, if people aren't ready to embrace things, then nothing happens. And because people feel alone, maybe.
Yeah, but nobody's going to believe aliens until they come out and go, blah, 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 and then they run away, and then they go, now I know that they exist. But
I found this, I found this thing really funny, because I mean, of course, there's some things that are really dated.
You mean for Marilyn?
for what she said
Yes,
there,
yeah.
but there's still so many things that she talks about that still apply to. Actually, we should start thinking about it again. It's like in case of in the case of
Education,
the
definitely.
solutions that we need to find now, and some thinking that was described in this book, and in her later works as well. It was so yeah. I mean, I found it to me it was really confronting to hear people talk about things from the 80s, actually the 60s and 70s, and then we're here 40 years later.
Where now they said, now this is the official beginning.
Yeah, and of
the
course,
Age of Aquarius.
21st of December was the
April 21st, they say now.
Yeah, well, I've been looking into it, and some say it's already been going on since 1341 or something.
But why are we not arguing? Why don't we just say it's happening right now?
It's happening right now, and we need to embrace
really
it.
exciting. It's a really exciting time, and that's why you bring up all this, because we can have a shift of consciousness, we can have a spiritual shift, we can have a financial shift. Abundance is there and available for everyone, and if we just embrace.
I don't know how much quantum physics, as we've been dealing with that. I mean, in our work together.
Yeah, but not to throw that in there right now.
Not to throw
that was more about the alien, about the technology that they witnessed,
Yeah.
that it had something that was beyond their people's comprehension.
But I don't know how this quantum physics thing is building further on this, or if it's something that developed next to it. I mean, if you combine these things, these ideas, and what we've been hearing about, all these new possibilities.
The entanglement and the interconnectivity. I mean,
Yeah.
she was saying that we are all connected, and that's what an education system does. I went, what? What an education system does that we're all connected? I don't know.
I mean, it's about individual. It's about educating yourself, educating society. That's what she says. Like, it's not about schools. It's about self development. But the funny thing is that, like, okay, this was like the core book for everything New Age in the 70s and 80s. This is New Age, and we're back at it, or we need to go back to that eerie time of New Age where everybody. I mean, I grew up in a time when New Age was like, yeah, right.
Yeah, poo-pooed upon.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not New Age, I mean, it's just the shift in consciousness, because, like, my daughter, she doesn't want to have a car, or she doesn't want to have a big house, or she wants to have a car, of course, but she doesn't need a big house. She doesn't need, like, objects. She just needs to be able to drive and live on a farm. And it's more about having experiences, and that's a good shift in one way.
Yeah,
Do you
that's the thing.
Have
the
one
shift
last
of paradigm.
thing? What are we going to
Just because of the fun thing, I have an epilogue actually.
Oh, tell me your epilogue.
It's we're just gonna look at it.
Do we have to finish and then you do an epilogue, or
No,
do you put
no,
an
no,
epilogue
no.
inside already the thing? Okay.
We're just gonna maybe say hi, and then afterwards still just to say thank everybody for watching.
Okay.
But the epilogue is really like it was a funny thing. It's from
Thomas
Thomas's-
came into your dreams. No, you had a dream and Thomas was there.
No. It's just from the conversation.
One of these women were there from no.
Yeah, you just put on the.
Merci, zou ik zeggen, voor de opfrissing van mijn
Ja.
geheugen. Ik denk dat ik het eigenlijk nog een keer verder moet uitspitten, of misschien nog dieper graven voor iets te doen dat dan echt misschien Thomas eer aan doet. Maar ik ben nu wel geïntrigeerd naar zijn tekening en naar werk.
Ik ga iets terugvragen, hè, als ik mag.
Ja, absoluut. I'm here.
Wij zijn, hij komt altijd op de meest bizarre momenten in mijn leven terug. Hè. Ik ga je een paar voorbeelden geven. Net voor mijn huwelijk, de dag ervoor, liep ik door de Lipslaan in Knokke. Ik woon nog altijd in Knokke-Heist. Ik kwam er zo'n surf-dude afgelopen, zo, met lang, hoe noemen ze dat? Je zou er eigenlijk bang van worden, maar hij had zo'n positieve uitstraling. En hij kwam mij naar mij, hij zegt, ik kom je de groeten doen van Thomas. Een dag voordat ik trouwde. Hè. Ik dacht van, wat? Wat is dat hier allemaal? Eh, Thomas en ik hadden ook een liedje samen, Nothing Else Matters van Metallica. En ook bij de geboorte van mijn kind, iedere keer als ik in mijn auto stap en ik steek het contact aan, was dat het eerste liedje dat ik hoorde. Op de radio, hè? Moest je dan nog zeggen van... En nu het bizarre is dus dat ik vorige week of 2 weken geleden, ik weet niet of je gaat dat niet meer weten, maar in het eerste jaar, vanaf het eerste jaar dat Thomas Hermaans deed, had hij een hele goede vriend ook. Dat was eigenlijk de soulmate van Thomas, ga ik maar zeggen. Johan noemt hij, de gast die helemaal into Wagner en van die toestanden is.
Ja,
Johan de Krop.
ik denk dat ik die nog gezien heb. Toen. Ik heb in een hele reeks dia's dat ik ook nog van in Gent heb. En er was 1 dia, dat kan nu onmogelijk zijn om dat te laten zien, vrees ik.
Die man met die hoed en die kandelaar en zo.
Ja. Is dat iets dat u iets zegt?
Is dat op zijn kot?
Dat ik het niet weet. Het zegt mij niks.
Dat is op zijn kot, want die kandelaar is een dat wij thuis hadden.
Voilà, oké. Zou dat kunnen dat dat in de knop is?
Dat is Johan. Ja. Ik zie dat als kaken. Ja, inderdaad.
Oké.
In ieder geval Johan de Krop, ja. En die heeft mij enkele weken geleden, maar ik heb daar nog regelmatig contact mee, omdat ik ook veel zware avonden samen met Thomas en hem beleefd heb in Gent, die er volledig over waren. Dus hoe gaat dat dan als je in Gent zit? Maar die heeft mij gevraagd van ja, Thomas is dit jaar 20 jaar gestorven, we moeten daar iets voor doen. En we waren dus eigenlijk van plan om een of andere, mag geen tentoonstelling noemen, want maar of toch iets met kunst, met al hetgeen dat hij gemaakt en gecreëerd heeft, te doen.
Oh.
En dan kom jij met jouw vraag, dus dat sloot voor mij weer aan van,
Ah ja, dat
moet
is...
direct ja zeggen, hè?
Oh, wauw. Ja, kijk. De cirkels zijn rond. Dat is een beetje bizar,
Wat
hè?
ik anders een keer voor ga stellen, als je daarmee akkoord gaat, ik ga vragen aan mijn ma dat ik een keer de kaft met de meeste van zijn tekeningen dan er nog thuis liggen, dat ik die keer mag meedoen. En ik stel anders een keer voor dat ik kom graag naar Brussel. Hè.
Kom er graag af? Ja, dat is goed.
En dat we anders een keer een avond afspreken en dat we dan een keer daardoor gaan en dan een keer kijken wat we daarmee kunnen doen.
Absoluut. Oh, is gewoon fijn. Gedacht zijn.
So yeah,
That is a bit spooky.
that was spooky.
I love that that big surfer dude came up to him and said, "Hello from Thomas."
Hello from Thomas. 10 years after he died, and on the day before his wedding, the songs on the radio, and I found this picture then, because you can't see it in the, you couldn't see it with it. So that's the picture I found. That's Thomas's room, and that's that friend that actually said we should do something. It's been 20 years since he died. Let's put up something. Let's put up something artistically.
Wow.
So yes, it's
Synchronicity.
it's synchronicity, it's serendipity. It's one of the things that I thought is like, hey, that's
Something-
a good story.
Something to bring back nowadays.
So yeah, we're gonna end just with the last thing, with a little song. Hopefully YouTube doesn't put us, doesn't throw us off, but we'll just finish.
And thank you so much, Sam, to meet.
And let's have a little sing-along.
Yes, I'll keep a room. Earth is foundation. Out of paradise. But this is the most depressing part in the whole movie.
But no.
He's walking and he's getting stuck.
But this is back to my childhood.
Oh, yeah.
This is me, 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning, sneaking downstairs,
To listen
putting
to
on
hair?
records from my parents, and stealing chocolate from the top. From the top box of the.
But
But in this part of the movie, I'm crying.
Yeah.
Because then he's stuck in the line of the soldiers going up. He goes,
I'm Claude, that's me.
Have you ever seen the musical?
No, I only saw the movie.
Should we set it up again because it's the right time now? It's the Age of Aquarius. Next project, Davis.
Oh yes, we do it on a long table.
Yeah.
And we do every character, one person on the piano.
Yeah.
I want to be Burger, of course.
Oh, we mix it a little bit with Full Metal Jacket, maybe.
I'm gonna mix it up. Full Metal Jacket in there
well,
also.
let's remix musicals.
I got my ass, I got my hair, I got my tail, I got my... Yeah.
Yeah.
Masturbation can be fun.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching. We're gonna leave you here, and well, let's just try and all do the
Open
right
our minds
thing.
for the future.
And open our minds for the future, because the Age of Aquarius
Is
is upon
now.
us now.